Standing on the top now. No, nothing can move
you. Now, I was doing my best. I don't usually have a call-in show, but I'm working on it. I usually don't have a guest, but I'm working on it. There's a lot of people I like to have on the show. A lot of people I can learn from. A lot of people I can listen to. Well, I'm doing my best to get Judge Joe Brown on the show. Now, y'all probably seen it. It actually went viral. And Judge Joe Brown goes on the so-called Black News Channel. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. The so-called Black News Channel that's not even owned by black people. And their version of Don Lemon, Marc Lamont Hill, going to tit for tat about the verdict of Bill Cosby. Let's watch this.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. We are here talking once again about the case of Bill Cosby. As you know, he was... Welcome back to Black News Tonight. We are here talking once again about the case of Bill Cosby. As you know, he was released to most people's surprise yesterday, walking out of a Pennsylvania state prison because of a very interesting development in his case. And yesterday, many celebrities chimed in on social media. One of TV's most well-known judges, Judge Joe Brown, was one of those people who called out the way that mainstream media had been covering the story. Hours ago, he tweeted, and to be clear, much of this was in response.
Now, first of all, how can he say to most people surprise? Did he do a poll? Did he do a tally? How can you sit up here and see? This is what these people in media do. They'll tell you something and you'll sit there and believe it. You don't investigate it. This wasn't to most people's surprise. Matter of fact, to me, most people knew that this was going to eventually get overturned because most people actually researched and did their due diligence to find out what was actually said, what was actually done, to come to the conclusion that he was railroaded in that situation and shouldn't have been there in the first place. And here he is sitting up here telling this foolishness. But let's hear what he got to say. We're going to spend a little time on this one.
Something I wrote, but he said, anyone who was knowledgeable of American law would have expected and predicted the outcome of the Cosby appeal. Mainstream media in Hollywood incite public disorder by lying to the people about the law and encouraging mob rule. Hollywood reacts to Bill Cosby release with shock. Here to discuss his recent comments, joining me now is Judge Joe Brown. Judge.
You mean white Hollywood elites and feminists trying to suck up to white Hollywood elites? They were shocked. Black people in the black community was not shocked.
Thank you for joining me. Why do you say that mainstream media encourages mob rule?
I've talked to 43 lawyers around the country, 17 judges, and I haven't found one that was shocked by the verdict. Most saw the same thing that I did from day one. This never should have gone to trial. It's a travesty. It's a violation of due process and American law. It is part of this mess that mainstream media is trying to feed into the heads of the citizenry and poison them by saying that their emotions and their feelings are supposed to have paramountcy over what happens within the law. That's not the way it goes.
Now, look, like him or not, you know, Judge Joe Brown is right on a whole lot of stuff. He's more right than wrong on a whole lot of stuff. The problem with this country is we get so into our emotions that we never factor in the law. Now, in this country, you're innocent till proven guilty. Now, for example, the Derek Chauvin situation, that was different. You saw that man kill him. There was proven guilt right away. But in this country, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. He couldn't say I'm innocent till I'm proven guilty because you saw on video that he had his knee, had a man on his stomach, one man knee on his back that deflated his stomach where he couldn't get no air, and he had his knee on his throat. That was a clear eyewitness to murder. You can't say Chauvin was innocent to proven guilty. In this situation, nobody was there. Nobody y'all just believe the stories of the ladies. Y'all just, I wouldn't even believe the stories of Cosby. The point is, in America, you're gonna try to accuse somebody of doing something to you. You have to prove that. You can't just hope that I can get evicted based on the emotion of the people in this country. It doesn't work that way. The law and voting is different. But let's keep going. There's due process that always supposed to happen. Even Derek Chauvin got his due process. Derek Chauvin was put in a position because of the video. He had to prove that he was innocent. He had to prove it. And he couldn't. In this situation, you're innocent till proven guilty. And that's how it is in the United States.
I get people who never even took what they should have gotten in the 4th and 5th grade get to talking about how somebody going to disprove what these women accused Dr. Cosby of. And the truth of the matter is you don't have to. They have to prove that what they claim is true, not the other way around.
Facts. So if you're going to go report, and this is what happened to the girl who, and this is why she couldn't get no traction with the accusation against Joe Biden. And I've talked to her before, and she's a pretty decent lady. And Tara Reid, she had to prove that Joe Biden did something to her. Just like all these women, they have to prove that Donald Trump did something. But public opinion, because people hated Trump so much, it's like that Negro is guilty. But when it comes to Joe Biden, they wouldn't say he's guilty. Because people are opinionated and going by their feelings of the person that is being accused. I like Joe Biden, so I don't believe he did that. I hate Trump, that Negro did that. You're going by your feelings of a person and you're trying to factor in whether the person is guilty or innocent based on your opinion of that person. But in the court of law, that's not the fact.
That's American law. I see too much of this show up on the courthouse, voice your opinion, and get the courts to yield to what you believe. That's not the way the law works. That's called mob rule.
Exactly.
Mob justice. And if you want a more egregious exemplar, take what happened to Emmett Till and every other black man that's been lynched in the history of this country because somebody got emotional and decided to suborn the law, go around it, and do what their emotions drove them to do. So that is the way things ought to be. Law separates us from the animals, and we can't have this disregard of the law. I want to commend this Howard Dean for being forthright enough to speak out on what the reality is, and I would suggest that they need to strengthen the breadth requirements at Howard University so I don't see such ignorance coming out of this profoundly historic black university. My father went there way back in the 40s.
Well, Judge, there's two things going on at once, though, Judge.
That I have heard come out of that place lately. And if anybody
so, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once.
Justice, they ought to.
So, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once here. And I think, on the one hand, many of us are legitimately aware, and myself included, that the criminal legal system doesn't give equal outcomes to everybody, that black folk catch the worst end of this, that black men, when it comes to incarceration, get the absolute worst end of this. And the Bill Cosby case is an example of a prosecutor who was dishonest. Bill Cosby absolutely, if he's told that you won't be prosecuted for giving this deposition, and then he gets prosecuted, that is a violation of his rights, and that is a violation of due process.
Of course it is.
On the other hand,
due process.
but on the right, but hold on, let me finish this point, Judge.
On going forward should be disciplined.
So there's that, but then there's the other question that people. So then there's this other question that people though have, Judge, which is a legal question. Which is not a legal question. I think those two things to some extent are getting mixed up. And the non-legal question is about whether or not Bill Cosby actually did harm. Legally, you can say he's not guilty because the not guilty stands.
He didn't do anything. American law, there is a.
Now, how can Judge Joe Brown say that he did not do anything? Because that's the way it is in America. Unless you got evidence that this person did something, he didn't do it. It's the whole point of the O.J. Simpson case. Unless you got evidence that he did it, and you can prove without a shadow of a doubt, then in America, you didn't do it. That's what innocent to proving guilty. I'm innocent. I didn't do it. You have to prove that I did it, and if you prove that I did it, then I get the guilty charge. You got so many people, brothers in jail, guilty for stuff, and they didn't even prove it. They made it to black people where you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And that's what they did to Bill Cosby. They automatically say you're guilty until you're proven innocent. So they put the bearer of the truth on Cosby to prove that he's innocent, when it's really the bearer of the truth are on the accusations. The accusers have to prove that he did it, and they did not prove anything. All they got is statements and hearsay, she say. There's no evidence. See, in the Monica Lewinsky situation with Bill Clinton, she had evidence. She had a blue dress with some DNA evidence on it. That's right. She had proof that Bill Clinton did more than just bust a rhyme on her. She had to prove. And that is what made him confessed to doing it. Had not she had to prove, Bill Clinton would have continued to say, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And people would have their personal opinions whether he did it or not, but he would go throughout history as the man who didn't do it. People can only assume that I did it. But when she had that blue dress, then he had to admit that he did do something to her, because now she got proof.
An absolute presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt using due process of law. If there was no due process of law, that presumption of innocence does not remove itself, and there is no valid conviction. If there is no valid conviction, that presumption of innocence stands as a rock.
Right.
For the defendant. It is to keep the government from acting in a dishonest fashion and using its powers for persecution.
Now that is so key, because if you didn't have that process, and it still get manipulated every now and then when it comes to certain people, but if you didn't have that process there, they've been accusing black men of doing some God-forsaken awful things without any evidence, without any proof. And white people back then was like, yep, most white people, not all, but most white people like, yep, I believe he did it. Sure enough, them two girls that got raped and murdered and thrown into in the woods, I know that black man did it. I believe he black. No evidence that he did it, and come to find out the daddy did it. And they was trying to put it off on that black man just to get the scent off him and on the black man who innocently was walking down the path to his own home. Stuff happen all the time. That's why these laws have to stand as a bedrock, and we can't be so easily to sit there. And I heard Fat Joe said, man, you got 10 women that say something, it must be true. No, Joe. They still have to prove that. If you got 20 women saying it, they still have to prove it. You can't assume just because 20 women said it that it actually happened. Same thing with Herman Cain. The only white woman was coming out of woodworks the moment he started getting some traction in the Republican Party. No proof. Just hearsay. Same thing with Michael Jackson. No proof. Oh, Michael Jackson didn't have to prove. They say he got a mole on it in there.
So Dr. Cosby
So I think we're on the same page with that.
found guilty through due process. He hasn't done anything. So under American law, the accusations are just that. They carry no weight other than accusations, and they must be proven using due process beyond a reasonable doubt. If they have not been, then they are essentially worthless, just so much talk.
So I think we're on the same page. So I think we're on the same page with regard to the law. I think part of the challenge, and I sent out a tweet last night.
Mark, you're on the same page concerning the law, but you're trying to take it off the law and put it on emotions. You, as a newscaster, cannot do that.
That you responded to. I'm going to pull it up. It says, I said, Bill Cosby is not innocent. He has not been exonerated. His release means that Cosby, a sexual predator, was incarcerated within a criminal legal system.
Now, here's Marc Lamont Hill making a statement that he has no evidence on, which means he's a bad actor. Bill Cosby is not innocent. How can you say he's not? According to the court opinion, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. If nobody prove you guilty, bro, you're innocent, Mark. So until they prove that he was guilty, he is considered innocent. Now we're going to get to the drug situation, because the drug situation and the way they question, the way people frame questions when you go into a deposition can either hurt you or break you if you're not smart enough to catch what they're trying, the questions that they're asking you. A lot of these questions are meant to trap you. That's what happened to some of Trump buddies who were questioning about Russian involvement. General, I can't even think of his name right now. General Petraeus or whatever his name, Flynn, yeah, General Flynn. Have you ever did you talk to any Russians during this campaign? He can't say no. He's a general. He can't say no, but that doesn't mean he was talking to some Russian people willing to throw the election. No, they had a vague question. Did you talk to any Russians? Me, myself, Bob TV, I used to work in Astoria, Queens. There's a lot of Russians there. Park Chester full of Russians. There's a restaurant that have Russian food. I go in the restaurant, get some sausage or something like that, and the lady's Russian. Guess what? I spoke to Russians. So just because somebody answered the question and say yes doesn't mean that it's the statement that you had in mind. It's not a confession of guilt that I talked to Russian people about overthrowing the election, or I gave her some pills to drug her up so I can have some sex. The question was, did you give anybody, any of these ladies, any drugs? Well, if you gave them an aspirin, Tylenol, Zyrtex, whatever, because you're drunk and you have a hangover the next day, you gave her drugs. Well, let me continue.
That has as little regard for its own rules and procedures as does Cosby for his victims. And you responded, you said,
he hasn't had any. Law is a baseless accusation. It has no weight.
So under the law, I think we're on the same page.
See, he's trying to be agreeable and then disagree with him. You can't do that, Mark Hill. You sit here calling him something based on your own opinions and your own feelings. And you're not entitled to that when it comes to somebody's judgment. That's your own personal judgment. And you shouldn't even be broadcasting that on news. That's your own personal judgment, dude.
Again, but part of the problem
is in the 4th and 5th grade, not law school. American law means when somebody makes an accusation, that's all it is. It has no weight. If there's probable cause, you have somebody answer the complaint. But if you cannot find someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they have done nothing. They walk out of there with their presumption of innocence intact. How clear can that be? There is nothing
No, I
to
think that
answer.
I think that
He had a right to remain
I think that part is
silent
clear. No,
under the
I think
Fifth
that part's clear,
Amendment.
Judge.
And if he
Let me just
remained silent,
let me move the
government
conversation
had the
forward, though.
burden of proving his guilt. It did not. So he
Right.
stands
So I
acquitted.
guess what right. So what I want to do is just move the conversation up a little bit. I think you and I agree that legally he's not guilty. That legally he doesn't have any burden of proof. The state does, and it hasn't met that. Legally, his rights were violated. We're on the same page about that. I'm saying the legal question to me is rock solid. But I think what was happening yesterday was people were conflating those two things. They were acting as if because the state didn't meet its burden and because he was released based on the fact that he didn't get due process, or his due process rights were violated, that was somehow proof of the belief that many people had that Cosby was actually not just legally not guilty, but actually didn't do anything at the moral and ethical level. And
So,
hold on one second. I just want to place.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, hold on. Let me place the question to you. So I guess what I'm saying is, can we hold space for two ideas at the same time? Can someone, under the eyes of the law, be completely not guilty, and at the same time, can we have a public conversation? Because I know you talk about culture, you talk about our community, you talk about values. Can we also talk about the fact that someone can be doing great harm and even be a predator at the same time that legally they're all the things you just said?
No, because the law presumes them innocent until you prove them guilty.
Mark ain't gonna be able to win this conversation because the bottom line is the law, and until you change the laws, he's innocent till proven guilty. And sure, Cosby might have been a freak, he might cheated on his wife, but if but hey, he's not the only person that did something like that.
It is a specious thing. That's part of this new paradigm where everybody gets a trophy, a participation ribbon. Nobody's feelings get hurt. Freedom of speech gets restricted if somebody feels uncomfortable or undelighted by what is being said. That's not our reality.
So let me ask you a question. When George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin and the jury found him not guilty, do you feel that the black community should not have continued to express outrage and call George Zimmerman a killer because under the law he was innocent?
They should express outrage with themselves for lacking such political influence in the selection of the district attorney or in the even weight assigned to them. See, the rules are the same. But from my perspective, I think of all the black folk that have called me over the last 35 of jury service, all of the black folk that voted a handout where you've got a racist idiot on that handout for judge and they don't even pay attention to who's on the ballot. I think of all of the...
And Judge is so right in this situation, because the reason why you get a lot of conviction, because you got judges that can't wait to convict a black person, can't wait. A lot of these judges are there in a position to fill up jails. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. They're there to help the penal system. And when you continue to elect these people, when you continue to go to the ballot booth and you're electing judges that you don't know who they are, where they come from, what kind of record they have, and the conviction rate and the innocent rate and things like that, if you don't know that, then you are responsible for what happens in the court because you put that person in a position of power. Now, I was one of them numbnuts that didn't really pay attention to the judges on the ballots. And then I was told, bro, you live in this neighborhood, you better pay attention to the judges on that ballot, because that's the judge that will probably keep you in or keep you out if you're in a situation that you don't want to be in. And that's what Judge Joe Brown's saying. It ain't got nothing to do with, the conviction. Because we all know Trayvon whipped his behind, and that man, 9 times out of 10, he probably got angry and killed him. Nobody dispute that man didn't kill Trayvon. That's not a dispute. He killed him. Whether it was justified or not, that was up to them to prove. And according to that jury, he proved that. Now, of course, I got my public opinion that no, he whooped your behind and you was embarrassed, so you had to take that man's life. But that's my opinion. It doesn't shape the actuality of the conviction. What shapes the conviction is the judge and the jury. Let me keep going.
Black folk who don't go out and vote for sheriff or effectively for mayor or for the district attorney and complain about it. See, when you have an opportunity to do something about it, do it. And see, most of the people that are off in the penitentiaries are not in there for playing Robin Hood. They robbed from their neighbors, burglarized their neighbors, killed their neighbors, raped their neighbors, sold poison to their neighbors. And the other thing is, it's not guns. It's not any excuse. It's we have got a lack of manhood and masculinity in our neighborhoods.
Exactly.
See, masculinity is the imposition of a set of behavioral standards on a boy. So when the boy grows into a man, he has some things he has to do that he cannot get away with, that he is compelled to look to, making where he lives a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. He is a man of public peace, dignity, and order, who is a man of peace, who can be a brave and courageous man when necessary.
Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. The judge is exactly right, because what have happened from the 70s up to now is they've been little by little, step by step, trying to crush male masculinity. They're little by little doing whatever they can to strangle it out of our society. You can't teach your little boy how to be a man. You got to let him be whatever he feel like he want to be. No, he's a boy. I'm going to shape him into being a man. Now, after he become a man, he can, whatever he want to do, that's up to him. But I'm going to teach him how to defend the lady, how to protect the neighbors, how to be respectful, how to be honorable, how to go out there and earn a decent dollar instead of hustling and doing some. No, these things need to be taught. And because they're trying to shame men, especially black men, from taking their nieces, nephews, and the cousins and their sons and teaching them how to be men, they want to look down on you. You're not letting him be what he want to be. He's a child. He's not allowed to be what he want to be other than a child. He's a child. I'm not teaching my son about daddy and my two daddies or my two mommies crap. Nah, if you want to read that, let that happen later. I'm not reading no storybook to no 5-year-old kid. Just like I'm not teaching no kid about race, the white man is a murderer and all that kind of stuff. I'm not teaching that to the kids that early. Now, as he get older, he needs to know the truth about American history and what was really going on in American history, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like you're going to be embarrassed or whether you feel like you're going to be guilty and shameful because of so-called what you call critical race theory, which is really people actually find out the truth about the horrible genocide that the American Caucasian has spread it on anybody else but Caucasian in this country. You're embarrassed about that. No, we're going to teach these kids how to be men, how to be ladies. Nobody want to teach their daughters how to be lazy. No, people are afraid to teach their daughters how to walk, how to be prissy. You're ashaming yourself if you can't teach your son how to be a man and open up the door for that female. Man, you got some people out here, somebody starts shooting and the boy running, saying, girl, you better save yourself, instead of the boy trying to protect that woman. Now, look, like I said, you're a free moral agent. Even the scriptures, even in the Bible, say, choose this day whom you're going to serve. God give you a choice if you believe in God. God give you a choice how to live your life, but there's a time frame on that. It also talks about how, as a child, I thought like a child, I act like a child, but as I became a man. So you got to allow that to happen. I'm not trying to push these ideologies on children. I want these children to grow up and just have fun, have a good time, play with each other, play with your white friends, play with your black friends, play with your Asian friends, have a good time growing up. And then as you get of age, you start to learn a little more about society in detail, from the house into the classroom and even into religious circles. Well, let me get back on this. But Judge is right on this.
See, we have to start
Judge,
taking
let me
our
pause you for a
neighborhoods
minute.
Back.
We're going to take a... Judge, I want to hear more about that, Judge. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break and bring it right back. I'm going to push you on some of those things as well.
I bet
Stay
you
with me.
will.
We got more Black News Tonight coming up right after this. Welcome back to Black News Tonight. We're talking Bill Cosby and the aftermath of his case. I'm here with Judge Joe Brown. Judge, again, early in the conversation, we sort of stipulated to the legal parts of this, and we both agree that everyone deserves the right to due process, and no one should be sitting in prison or jail for something that they either didn't do or if their rights are violated, or both. But you've also raised this interesting question that I think is worth unpacking a bit, and that's about ethics and morality within the black community and holding each other accountable and talking about manhood and masculinity. If we, again, assuming Bill Cosby doesn't take the legal stuff off the table, if we look at the depositions, the very thing that got him ultimately, the thing that ultimately got him locked up, and those depositions, and he's talking about the various women he had sex with giving them alcohol and pills, whether it's Quaaludes or Benadryl. If you look at the dozens of women who come forward and accuse him, is there room to say, look, Bill Cosby can come home because the prosecutor was wrong, but Bill Cosby also has to be accountable for what he represents and for acts of and for predator-like behavior?
What about these women being accountable for their own behavior?
Now, look, this is a point that nobody wants to talk about. Accountability, self-accountability. Self-accountability. See, I live in New York City. So you're not going to see me walking around with a big thick gold chain 2:00 in the morning in the South Bronx. You just ain't going to see it. Why? Because I'm accountable for myself. I'm asking to be robbed. I'm not going to walk down the street, any street, not even in Upper Manhattan, walking around, counting a knot of money, walking down the sidewalk where other people are walking on that same sidewalk. I'm advertising myself. It's like Dave Chappelle, he said the lady was dressed up, she had a breast popping out, a turtleneck, butt cheeks popped out, and he tried to hit on the girl, and he's like, oh, no. Just because I'm dressed like this don't mean I'm advertising myself. And Dave Chappelle pretty much say, okay, so if I put on a uniform and I got a badge on and you come running to me when somebody trying to rob you, don't expect me to help you. Don't put yourself in a position that you don't want to be in. Don't do that. Now, I've never been really big on, what's the name, Chatham, the left wing, the right wing Trump supporter, but he made the same points. You have to be responsible. These are grown freaking women. And a lot of them was looking to party. A lot of them was looking to, let me tell you something, man, when there was this fine girl, man. When I was a kid drooling, man, I was like, man, I want to get some of that bad as I don't know what. I'm a kid. And she's a little older than me. And she will blow me off. And I'm like, girl, God, no, you better be glad I'm a kid. When I get 18. And I had once tell me, when you turn 18, boy, I'm coming for you. So, and she sure did. And I sure let her, But when the women found out that I joined the Navy, they came out the woodworks. And man, they were trying the best to try to trap a brother. And that one girl, she was fine and everything. But when I knew she was trying to put me in a position where, she could probably with child get a baby from me. So a lot of women do that because they see that if I get with this person and have a baby from them or something like that, I can get some sense of security. A lot of women go out there, and I mean, even in football, you play college football. These girls out here, they cater toward those guys, give them some of these guys with, because they thinking that, hey, I might be connected to them in the future. Whether individually, as a wife or girlfriend, or maybe I have their child. At least that's going to set me for life if that person goes to be a big time star. So don't get it twisted, man. A lot of these women, you got some people that do prey on women. And you got people in Hollywood that do prey on women, telling them, look, if you want this part, we got to look each other out. Now, if she go ahead and do it anyway to get that part, you can't blame that man who put that over her head that if you really want this part, then, you got to get on this casting couch. No, if you got on the casting couch, you're just as responsible as he is. You can't say, oh, he took advantage of me. No, you wanted that part so bad that you were willing to give up your morals to get that part. Some of these women were willing to go to these parties with these rich Hollywood elites and get drunk and get drugged up. Some of them went there on purpose because they wanted to get some kind of connection to somebody famous. Man, there was a girl, man, back in my hometown. Her claim to fame was she had sex with Biz Markie. Yeah, she was a pretty girl. Big thickum. Her claim to fame was she had sex with Biz Markie. Even admitted that she tried to get pregnant by Biz Markie. A lot of these women out here, they'll do whatever they can to trap you. You got the men that trap you for sex and women that trap you for money. And how you meet in the middle is how you meet in the middle. A lot of them was doing that in Hollywood back in those days. Bill Cosby, a powerful man, and you want to get some kind of favor with him. And then when you don't get the favor after you done gave up everything to that man, you don't get the favor. Now you're saying he did this or he was wrong. Man, there's some slimy people out here, men and women. They have something you want and you got something they want. And they'll manipulate to get it. They'll lie, cheat, and steal to get it. Or they'll come to a mutual agreement to get it. All right, I mean, you want this part, you got to give me this. Oh, no, I want that part, and I'm going to give it to you.
They were groupies. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, sex, drugs, rap, sex, drugs, baseball, football, basketball, movies, television.
Now, people don't want to hear that, but it's true. Every superstar have groupies. R. Kelly had groupies. Michael Jackson had groupies. Everybody that's famous have groupies. They have an entourage. They have groupies. They have women show up. They find out that they're in a certain hotel. Women will come to the hotel just to have sex with them. You think them brothers ain't gonna let them in? And these groupies are there for one reason. Number one, to say I was with this person, and number two, they're trying their best to get some kind of connection to this person. A lot of these groupies go out here and have sex, and they'll take your condom off and everything, or they'll break the condom hoping to get pregnant. These people come in here, they go to the man. Y'all just don't. People want to assume that they know, and I'm not assuming that this happened to Bill Cosby, but he was in that position where he did have groupies as a married man. He did have groupies. Every superstar got groupies. Heck, Shabba Ranks had groupies. Man, you realize how many women was willing to have sex with Shabba Ranks, and Shabba Ranks? You give Shabba Ranks some, but won't give me none? Shabba Ranks? You remember so many women that was trying to get with Jimmy Walker, JJ?
See,
yeah, but right now I'm talking about Bill Cosby. I'm saying
we forgot what that term meant: sex, drugs, rock and roll. The bimbos come to the party, they hang out, they get drunk, they
bimbos
snort lines of blow, and they have a good.
Look at Marc eyes. Yeah, such thing as bimbos, man. It's such thing as sluts, whores, and it's such thing. And there's some women who are proud to be slutty. Some of them get it tattooed on it. I had one girl I was working in an beauty supply store and had on the neck tattoo real slut. I'm like, what in the world? A real slut? I'm like, did that say real slut? Or was it real slut or love sex? One of the two. She was advertising herself. Let me keep going.
Good time.
People act like that these people don't exist. That everybody high and moral. And they wouldn't do that. Somebody have to do that to them. Nobody, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't let themselves loose like that.
They use the hall closets to give head, the bathrooms to get down, and you go in to get your coat off of the bed, and they're laying on top of it doing somebody. See, that's what that's about. So,
yeah,
I mean,
but
let's not
it has
get
to be consensual,
25,
though.
30, 40, 50.
Here they go with that. It has to be consensual, though. A lot of it was consensual. And when they get what they want, they claim it wasn't consensual. A lot of it was consensual, Mark. A lot of it was on purpose. A lot of these women came to these parties. A lot of these women come to these superstars' hotel room to give sex. But when they don't get what they want, they'll say it wasn't consensual. Or both of them were so high and so drunk. It happened to me before. Oh, man, I saw this girl at the club. It was on. I was drunk. She looked like Janet Jackson. My boys were trying to stop me and tell me, Rob, what are you doing, man? You drunk, man. You need to chill. I'm like, man, y'all just mad because y'all ain't getting no play tonight. Well, when I woke up the next morning, there was two kids sitting in front of me. One with a big old pissy diaper on, slob going down, you know, one of them ghetto baby kids. And the daughter who was, you know, she had a little night thing on. She didn't look as bad as the baby. Tell my mama we hungry. I rolled over and I saw the mama. I was like, oh, God. Ah, God. We're both naked. So that means we did something. I didn't consent to it. At least not in my natural mind, I didn't consent to it. I don't know if she consented to it. At least not in her natural mind. And I didn't want to find out. So I told them kids, okay, y'all hungry? I'm going to get y'all some McDonald's, but don't wake your mama up. Go in the living room, watch some cartoons. I'm going to go, what y'all want? McMuffin? What you want? Sausage, egg, and cheese? All right, I'm going to get it, but don't wake your mama up. Man, they ain't been back there since then. Hey, man, them kids probably still 40 years old, still looking at their window. I wasn't going back. Consensual. Get out of here, Mark.
Years after something was in big time style, when this stuff started out, the sexual revolution was going on. And a lot of women got into it deeply.
Okay, but so there's two things you raised.
The point
first,
is,
but first, let's talk about Bill Cosby. We can talk about the women, but let's talk about Bill Cosby. Let's talk about Bill Cosby for a second, because that's the person we're talking about. My question was, is there room to what did he do? Well, according to the deposition, he gave women pills, and in one deposition, he specifically said pills. He didn't know whether.
Force it down their throat,
no, let me finish.
He didn't take advantage of them.
See, all they have is the fact that he said he gave people pills. He didn't voluntarily say he gave people pills. They asked him the question, did you give anybody pills? And he admitted to it. Language is everything. They didn't say, did you drug any of these ladies? They asked, did you give them pills? Well, I mean, you come to my house and you got a headache. And you say, Rob, you got some aspirin. I said, give me a moment. I gave you pills. But that ain't what they mean. You don't know. It could be as simple as that. And he would have to say yes in the deposition. They don't have to get specific, but let's finish.
Look at that interview Whoopi Goldberg did with that model Johnson. Whoopi got all said, wait a minute, you're trying to tell me that when
Judge, let me
he
ask the
found
question.
out you were high, he called a cab took the elevator down with you, put you in the cab, paid your fare, tipped the man, and sent you home because you were high? So what did he do to
So
you?
in one deposition, so Judge, in one deposition specifically, when he was asked the question, was he sure that the woman was sober enough to consent? He said, "I don't know." But there's a bigger question here: is if someone willingly takes pills and becomes high and drunk, can they legally consent?
Sometimes you can. Used to be you could. They had a change in there back 25 years ago when they were saying, no, you can't. But before that, basically, you could. That's why they told
Right.
you.
Now, Judge is right on that. Back then, they bared the responsibility on the person. It's just like you drinking and driving. You get in a car accident. I mean, you know, you bear the responsibility. It's not the bartender or it's not the company. It's just like with these firearms. How in the heck you going to sue the firearm company for something some food did with the firearm? It's not the manufacturer fault. It's the fool who took the gun that happened to be a particular manufacturer that shot those people. He bears the responsibility. It's not the person who created the gun. Heck, it's not even the person who sold the gun if that guy went through the proper protocol to make sure he was legit to handle those guns. You can't sue him. He has a gun shop. His job is to sell guns. Now, if he went through the proper, if he just ignored the protocol and selling the gun to some idiot that haven't had evaluation, don't need no gun, then that's something different. It's like you driving a car. If somebody selling you a car and you know your license are suspended and all of a sudden you hit somebody with that car, of course, they bear the responsibility. But if you on purpose decides to drink and you decide to ignore the fact that you're drunk and you didn't take a cab and you drive anyway, you're responsible. It's not the car company responsibility. You are responsible for drinking and driving. You got drunk. Now, same thing on these women. If these women taking Quaaludes or whatever drug and they ask them for it, that's their responsibility. You asked for it, I gave it to you. You asked for it, so I gave it to you. You know, in the Joe Biden crime bill, if you sell some cocaine to somebody and that person died, for overdosing on that cocaine, they will put you in for life for that. Now, should the drug dealer go for life for selling that cocaine? He should get charged for distribution. But if you were dumb enough to sit there and snort the whole thing up, that's your fault. It's your fault. McDonald's, the #1 food killer all across the country. They're killing people left and right with that food. They actually tried to sue McDonald's for people dying, but ultimately, these people are grown. They have to bear responsibility for what happened to their body. I thought it was my body. I'm responsible. It's my body. Well, then you got to be responsible for what you do with your body.
So, but we're talking about the
sober.
law. So then, Judge, again, since you're saying we should appeal to the law, if the law says that you can't be
intoxication, where you did something to them they didn't consent to. See, that's when that law started changing from you got yourself drunk, you are responsible to know the bartender's responsible because he lets you get drunk. That's when that change started coming
Bill
about.
Cosby's admitting. Bill Cosby's admitting to giving women alcohol and pills for the purpose of having sex, and if by the law you can't consent if you're drunk or high.
You go out to dinner or you have a.
In the deposition, he didn't say he admitted to giving these women drugs and alcohol just to have sex. He never said that. Just to have sex. He knew that the drugs and alcohol can lead to sex. Everybody know drugs and alcohol lead to sex. Man, when I was coming up, man, we would give people this stuff called Spanish fly, hoping that we can get some sex, dropping in the drink. In high school now, put that Spanish fly in there. People would spike punch at the party. See, that's different. But when you say, yo, spike my drink, then that's your responsibility.
Party or something. So
Yeah,
does
but
that
that's
make
not the
them
same.
taken
That's irrelevant,
advantage
Judge.
of because they do something they would have done anyway? A whole lot of them I
Yes,
knew back in the years would
that's
take
sexual
drugs,
assault, Judge.
particularly Quaaludes. They did that a lot. I had a
It wasn't sexual assault. We started to make these things recently sexual assault. Back then, it wasn't. We just get so mammy-pammy with things that happen to people that we try to legislate everything. Now they're trying to legislate what I say here on YouTube.
lot of female clients I had to get out of messes because they had a fondness for Quaaludes. It's not cool,
Yeah, but it's
I
okay
mean,
to take-
don't you bear any responsibility for this, especially if you keep going
No.
back?
So, Judge, let me. I want to.
And he actually said, no, you don't bear no responsibility. So you telling me the crackhead who keeps going to the drug dealer to get crack, she don't bear responsibility for her habit? For her kids not being able to have food to eat because she keeps selling it? For her kids not to have any toys because she keeps selling it? For her to go to jail for stealing clothes just to pay for her crack habit? You don't think she don't bear responsibility of that?
Lay this out plainly, just so, and I'll give you a chance to respond. I'll even give you the last word. If you give someone drugs and alcohol, even if they want to take the drugs and alcohol, if they get to a point where they are inebriated, where they are high or drunk, you cannot have sex with them. It is not sex, it becomes rape. And even by
That's
the legal
only the
standard that you're
law
saying
in
we should
certain
appeal
states.
to,
See, you can't say that. Some women get drunk and take drugs to have sex. Some men get drunk and take drugs to have sex. Some people can't even perform sexually unless they drink or take drugs. So you can't use that as an excuse, Marc Lamont Hill. And judges getting ready to say that's only in certain states. Like, for an example, in certain states, you can marry somebody at 16 with the parents' permission. But is that considered statutory rape? You married this 16-year-old? I would never marry a 16-year-old. I wouldn't even marry an 18-year-old. If I was 18 and you're 18, maybe. But if I was 30, 40, I ain't marrying nobody under 35. All right. The youngest I'm going to go is 35. But in some states, you can, with the parents' consent, marry somebody 16. And in New York State, the statutory limitation is 17, which means you can be with somebody 17 or older. Now, would I be it? No, I would not do that. But that's the law in that state. So you can't sit here and make that law for every state, Marc Lamont Hill, to prove your point that Bill Cosby is a predator. When a lot of time, these people wanted to be preyed on by Bill Cosby because of his money. And let's say he was looking for somebody and let's say he was a sex fiend and things like that. Like I said, you get a position of power. People want something from you and you want from some people. And both of you will yield whatever power you can. You'll wear that tight dress and be bending over and everything in front of him at work. You know what you're doing. But as soon as he says something, you want to holler sexual harassment. Which I'm going to talk about the Jimmy Dore situation and Kyle Kalinske getting mad at him because he told her nice news skirt Anna. That's a whole nother story. You're a news reporter. You don't need to be coming to work dressing all sexual explicit. You're doing the freaking news. And that's not a Republican thing, Kyle Kalinske. That's a moral thing. I can't go working in a restaurant with my, unless you're going to, Hooters, but you can't go into no high upscale restaurant, with $100 plate with your butt cheeks hanging out, and they'll fire you. Let me keep going.
That's only the law in certain states. It's not for every state. And it goes into the same philosophy. It goes into the same thing. I didn't know I was going to get that drunk, so it ain't my fault I got a DUI and kill somebody. How you think that's going to float?
Right, but the difference is the
Plus,
drunk person has a responsibility to
on the East Coast who want a new
drunk person has a responsibility not
rape.
to get into the
It's
car.
called rape by
But the drunk
seduction.
person does not have a
In other
responsibility
words, you take
not to
woman
give
out,
the responsibility.
and you decide to
if
have
we're
a
talking
good
about
meal,
responsibility,
linen, candlelight,
talking about
wine,
responsibility,
dine. You go for a walk in the park. My place or yours. Get over there. Kissy, kissy, poo. Seduction. Clothes come off. Everybody has a good time. This crowd wants that to be called
everybody isn't having a good time. One person's being assaulted. Right, but what I'm saying, Judge.
How is somebody being assaulted? Now, Judge is saying that there's a certain segment of society that's trying to make you whining and dining and having sex with somebody. They want to consider that rape. I don't understand that. But Marc Lamont is trying to prove a point here.
Nobody.
And I gotta run.
See, that's the point. He never admitted to what he did, was accused of, which is
how many people in your court admitted to what they did
all
that were
did
guilty?
Was they asked for it, I supplied it. They wanted it.
In other words, they asked for it, I gave it to them. If they got high and they start approaching me sexually, because you don't know, they're high. Well, if they're high and you know, they got to be sober in order to approach you sexually. You high, you trying to get with me? You realize how many people they need to get high to get sexually active? Some people just go. Oh, I mean, some girls admit it. You give me 3 drinks, I'm liable to be somebody who I don't need to be. What do you mean by that? I get real freaky. Well, how many drinks can I order for you? I guess I better get you 3 drinks. You just, you know, you sending signals. So guys, come on. This stuff is ridiculous. I mean, they're trying to put this thing in a position where none of this is the other person's fault. It's just that person's fault. No, it's both persons' fault. Now, the accusations of him never said he raped anybody. Never said he raped anybody. Sexual assault is not rape. Rape may be a type of sexual assault, but sexual assault in general is not rape. And a lot of sexual assaults are vicious. A lot of them are timid. But when you're in a situation where you're looking for drugs, you got women saying, I get real friendly when I get some 420. When I say I'm 420 friendly, that means you get me some marijuana, we can have a good time. It's a lot of women like that. So once I give them the marijuana and she get all freaky and want to have sex, and I do that mean I raped her, Marc Lamont Hill? See, people don't make no sense with their thinking. They want to control you. They want to control everything you do. It's going to get to a point where I see a fine woman and her butt poking out. Like I tell my lady friend, I call her Pokemon because she got, her butt be poking out. It'll get to a time they want to call the police on me just because I looked at a lady's butt. That's sexual assault. Come on, guys, you can't stop trying to legislate too much stuff. Now, I know one thing Bill Cosby is. He's guilty of cheating on his wife. But then again, how do I know it's cheating? How do I know it's not mutual? You got people in Hollywood, they have open relationships. I don't know. I'm not in that household.
Okay,
that's like put some candles on and some incense.
This is flat out rape at this point. He's trying to make Bill Cosby a rapist by any means necessary.
When we do it, let's go out and have a fine meal. Some Pinot Noir, some Cabernet Sauvignon,
giving somebody
to go with the prime rib and the lobster. And then we, after we leave the 5-star restaurant, we got a nice walk in the park.
This honestly is, with all due respect, is the most disturbing interview I've ever had in my life.
No, but see, you are into this thing where everybody's got to be protected. This society.
He actually said this is the most disturbing news interview he ever had. No, it's disturbing because you got a real man that's challenging you on your own point of view of what rape is, what sexual assault is. And do Bill Cosby qualify as a rapist or a sexual assaultist? When judge said a lot of time, no, if you want it, you have to bear, when a lot of these things are you bearing responsibility for your own actions. Bill Cosby didn't throw nobody on the ground and ripped his clothes off and had sex. Sure, he gave people some drugs, but don't mean he gave them drugs. Doesn't mean he drugged them so he can have sex with them. And even if these people wanted the drugs and he gave it to them, if they got a little on the freaky side because of the drugs and they wanted to be sexual with him, if he say he can't do anything, you don't expect him. If she's throwing herself all over him, even though she's drugged, you don't expect him to do anything? Come on, guys. But they're trying to say, well, if she's drugged, then she and she's under the influence, then that's something she did not initiate. Bruh, some people need that to initiate. They want to, but don't have the guts to. But when they do, they're loose and relaxed to get it done. Heck, some people, you got to be high or drunk. Because when I looked at that girl next to me, I mean, she was all on me. She was all on me. My boys like, she was all on me in the club. And I was all on her. Well, in my drunkenness, she looked like Janet Jackson, man. But when I woke up next to Jabba the Hutt. So I was like, oh God, wow, Jesus, what's wrong with me? I didn't consent to this. Bro, well, you consent to that. Both of y'all was pissy drunk. Y'all had sex, and it is what it is. Come on, Rob. This society is getting so tippy-toe on controlling everything. And they want to criminalize everything. Focus on criminalizing these polices out here trying to brutalize black people, and not on simple things like me looking at a woman's butt. Now, after this interview, Marc Lamont Hill also said this, because the black community really whooped on his behind. The black community told him Judge Joe Brown was right, and he handed you your behind. And this is what Marc Lamont Hill had to say.
All right, family, we have reached the end of the show, but before I let y'all go, I just want to say something else. I have received so many emails, so many tweets, so many of y'all have stopped me on the street this week to tell me about the interview we did last week with Judge Joe Brown. If you missed it, go to BNC's YouTube page. You can find the full interview I did with Judge Joe Brown. Just trigger.
Now, here in Brooklyn, there was a bunch of brothers that confronted Marc Lamont Hill about this. I got the video, but we don't have time. I'll go over it another day. It's 1:35 right now. I need to close, but we're going to close on this. Then we'll pick it up with that video. You can probably go online and check it out. Matter of fact, I don't even want to comment on it. Go to Vicky Dillard. And she talked about it on the African Diaspora channel. These brothers came to confront Marc about that, and it irritated him. Brothers were telling him, Marc, you're wrong. How you did it was wrong. You know, you're trying to kiss up to your white elites. And I was going to go into the network that Marc Lamont Hill works for. It's not a black network. It's a bunch of rich, one Arab, one black Republican that they work together with, but it's white money that's funding it. And it's Arab money that's funding BNC. We're going to talk about that later. I don't want to be, I already been up here too long.
Warnings for anybody who has been a survivor of sexual violence, domestic violence, or who just hates obnoxious, old, sexist, misogynist, patriarchal, rape culture advocating fake TV judges. But
now, did you hear that? This is what he called Judge Joe Brown after he was confronted by those brothers in Brooklyn. Now, when he was with those brothers in Brooklyn, he was humbled. But as soon as he get back to his news desk, primarily because the money probably telling him what to say. But then again, this could be his views anyway. A lot of things I don't want to blame on the money. This could be just how he feels anyway. Listen what he called Judge, because Judge says some things that he don't like.
Sexist, misogynist, patriarchal, rape culture advocating for anybody who has been a survivor of sexual violence, domestic violence, or who just hates obnoxious, old, sexist, misogynist, patriarchal, rape culture advocating fake TV judges.
He called Judge Joe Brown a rape culture advocating fake TV judge. Bruh, and you are a cultured, overly cultured, sensitive fake news reporter working for a fake black channel funded by no black money. See, this dude lost my respect a long time ago, but this really sealed the nail in the coffin. He defends Israel or the Palestinians. He defended Palestinians more than his own people, yet he claims he defends black people more than anybody. But yet a man, his elder, who know more than he does, who knows the law more than he does, who know the culture back then than he do, because he probably was just a little kid, of all those victims that came out, predominantly most of them still a lot of them still having issues with drugs. This fool sits here and call a black patriarch
rape culture advocating fake TV judges. But
he was not a fake TV judge. He was on TV for a long time, longer than you've been on this TV as a judge. He's also a real judge. He graduated from Berkeley University as a lawyer. Well, you got to go see Godfrey the Comedian imitation of Judge Joe Brown. Go Google it, man. It was hilarious. And he said Mark Lamont is his boy, but he put his foot up Mark Lamont. But Mark is hurt because the black community is riding his behind. It's pull-up season. And when you do stupid like stuff like this, the black community is going to confront you about it.
the reason why I wanted to respond is because, you know, there's been so much energy around this interview. It's the most watched video we've done so far, the most watched segment we've done here at Black News Tonight.
It's the most watched interview they've done in on that particular segment. And the reason he's upset is because the most watched segment on his show showed him getting his butt handed to him by a so-called rape culture defending fake TV judge, when it's actually a smart intellectual black man who knows the law and stands and defends the law by any means necessary, and keep telling him you can't bring new law into old laws. That was the law back then when those things was happening. You may call it something to today, but back then it wasn't. So don't make it that today.
And I want to reiterate a couple points to some of y'all. The first thing is people say he beat you in the debate, he whooped you. First of all, these debates aren't boxing, they're not professional wrestling. The idea here is to have a dialogue. But that said, somebody who just talks and talks and talks and doesn't let you speak and talks over you, that's not winning the debate.
Dude, he let you speak. The reason he kept talking is because there's a delay on the interview system. He let you talk. He let you make your statement, and he refuted every last one of your statements. Every time you tried to lay the ball into the basket, he went matumbo on you, smacked it down, and said, no, 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 no. As Godfrey say, I'm the Michael Jordan of this law stuff, bruh. I just told you the law, and you don't like it. You want to come talk about your own personal opinions and what you believe, and I'm telling you, it don't fit here in these situations. And you can't make it fit here in any situation, especially on a news network.
That's bullying. And I don't feel bullied. I'm just saying that's there's a difference between talking the whole time and actually winning an argument. He didn't make an argument. The second thing is y'all tried to school him. You tried to school him on the law. I didn't try to school anybody on the law. The irony is he and I weren't just.
You can't school him on the law. You try to school him on morality. You try to school him on morality. It was wrong for him to do that. And it's wrong for anybody to get it. To me, it's a lot of things that's wrong. There's a lot of things that's right, but it may not be right. In other words, it may be your right to do something, but is it a righteous thing to do? Righteousness and rights are not the same thing. It may be my right to do this, but is it the right thing to do?
Disagreeing on the law. If he had taken the time to listen, he would have realized that I was saying, look, legally, there's no dispute here. You know, the prosecutor.
He did take the time to listen. He heard you, but he's keeping it on the law. He's telling you can't get your personal feelings in here and what you think. And stuff that happened back then, you can't bring in the laws today for things that happened back then.
Was wrong, and anybody who doesn't get due process shouldn't be incarcerated. That was easy. What I was trying to move the conversation to was this other piece, which is we can do two things at once. Black people can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can fight for the release of somebody without celebrating them. We fought for OJ to come home, not because we thought OJ was a hero or a saint, but because we knew the criminal justice system had wronged him. We said, look, OJ doesn't like us.
This guy's all over the place. Look, this is going to be the last of it. The dialogue was the law. You trying to make the dialogue is about all these women. Heck, this whole segment is called Hill said support for Cosby mean you hate black women. This before I let go section is him telling us if you support Bill Cosby, that means you hate black women. So if you're on this show right now, you support Bill Cosby and you don't believe that the accusations of Bill Cosby, he's trying to say you hate black people, black women. Now, who are the hell are you to tell me I hate black women? Because I don't believe most of this stuff. That I believe a man is innocent to proven guilty, and I need to see the evidence, and I haven't seen any evidence. All I heard was he say, she say. I don't care how many women you prop up, 20, 30, 40 women, that doesn't necessarily mean that it actually happened. Everybody's looking for a payday. Everybody looking to get some fame and fortune. And you don't know who these people up and why they're up there and what reason and what's the motive behind them being up there and making these accusations. You don't know the whole story, but you want us to assume it. Same thing go with Fat Joe. The bottom line is the man innocent to proven guilty, and they got to prove these things happen. And back then, there was a culture of people taking advantage. The women was trying to get up the ladder in Hollywood, and they was willing to do anything to get to it. And the men in power was willing to knew the power that they had, and they was willing to even make an exchange for it. Heck, some of them actually fell in love and got married for doing stuff like that. Casting Couch was so good that I actually wanted this woman even more. So I made her my lady. People was getting drunk, and Richard Pryor said they would do so much drug. I mean, some of us were so high that we had to give them another drug just to bring them down. At least they go outside and running from their car. They got so high on Quaaludes or uppers and hallucinating that we literally had to give them a pill to bring them down. But you'll say, he drugged me and have sex with me. So we don't know the whole full story. All I know is you're innocent to proven guilty. They didn't prove anything. All you can do is continue to give your public opinion and try to make everybody side with your opinion. And you don't like when somebody tell you you're wrong. Heck, I can give my opinion and I can try to make everybody side with me, but it ain't all about it. My opinion is my personal opinion. It's not everybody else's.
He don't love us. He don't hang with us. He don't date us. He don't marry us. He does all this stuff, but he still shouldn't be in a cage. That's what we should be doing with Bill Cosby. Instead, we look on Instagram and I see people holding Bill Cosby parties at the club. And that's when I said, F all y'all. I wasn't talking to black folk. I was talking to anybody who would organize a party like that.
No, you was talking to black folks because black folks was holding in parties. A lot of us had parties when Chauvin was convicted.
And then I'm looking on the internet and people saying we need to pull up on Marc Lamont Hill and explain to him what's going to happen. And you ain't pulling up on nothing. Stop that.
Well, they did, bruh.
Knock it off.
Now you trying to act like a tough guy, bruh. They pulled up on you and you got scared. And the black community will continue to pull up on you. Who are you? You're no different from anybody else. You're no different. You're not no Superman. Black people gonna pull up on you. And you either take it on the chin. Now in this situation, he listened. He learned and he tried to teach, but more than anything, he listened. Why? Because he knew if he reacted the wrong way, it would have been an ugly story for that brother, especially in Brooklyn. You come to a black festival, a black thing, and the elders are there, and your black leaders and your black community leaders, and you gonna come up there and acting like you gonna be the celebrity that everybody gonna, nah, it wasn't happening.
What we can do is have a community conversation about rape culture, about why you think a critique of Bill Cosby is an attack on the black community, as if black women who are the victims of sexual violence predominantly are not part of the black community. Why do you think it's a liberal project some white liberal project to support?
You are doing a news segment. I don't know if you're doing this on your own, but your project, this whole black network thing, is it's not a black network. It's just black people doing news segment on what's supposedly going on in the black community. You taking this subject of Bill Cosby, you're using this as a tool for you to discuss rape culture. You're using it as a tool. And now the tool got him out of jail. And now the tool on paper saying that this guy's innocent, whether you like it or not. You don't see rape culture. You're trying to make this rape culture, but back then it wasn't rape culture. It wasn't. It was a free, open system that was going on, and a lot of it was consensual, and a lot of it was people just getting drugged up. And everybody was drugged up. So nobody knew whether they did it consensual or not. You were high.
The end of rape culture. As black folk, we don't need white people to tell us to stop harming each other. That's a black thing, and we should make it a black thing. Let's have that conversation. We can talk about the broken or the dysfunctional criminal legal system, but let's also talk about the violence and the harm that happens to black women and girls every single day. And supporting Bill Cosby is proof that we don't care or love black women and girls enough. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching Black News Today. We got much.
Oh, this guy. Marc Lamont Hill. Ain't that something? Guys, I'm done. I'm done with this. So you got Marc Lamont Hill. He's defending hard so-called black women. So only a few black women that was involved in that situation. Most of them were not black. A lot of them was drug addicts, doped up. A lot of them were money hungry. They were money hungry from the start. So instead of him talking about that, he wants to stay on the rape culture and use Bill Cosby's situation as his tool to discuss rape culture in the black community. We've always talked about rape culture in the black community, bruh. Always. We always talked about from everything from uncles taking advantage of the daughter, or their nieces and nephews, to granddaddy taking care of doing something. We always talked about rape culture, man. It's no different. Talking about Hollywood culture, that stuff was going on. That stuff was going on. Man, women was taking advantage of men, and men was taking advantage of women. Women was trying to groupie. It happens. And then all of a sudden, when you don't get what you want, you holler rape. So you don't know the whole story, but you want to use this story to talk about stories. Get out of here, Mark here. And don't try to be no tough guy. You're going to get pulled up on. You're going to get pulled up on, and you're going to get challenged. Some of it's going to be a decent dialogue, and some of it's going to be hard. So just get ready. And don't act like you're a tough guy that you're going to be able to just put everybody in their place. No, bro, you're going to get put in your place. You're going to get put in your place. And if the people tell the truth on of who putting the money in your pocket and how they puppeteering you from Democratic talking points all the way to trying to help push certain changes and laws on things that happen naturally. I get drunk, she get drunk, we wake up butt naked, and we can remember having sex. How you gonna call that? Are you gonna say she raped me because I was drunk and next thing you know I woke up with her on top of me? Anyway, I'm done with this, guys. This is Bobby Brown with the Bobby Brown Show. So good morning and good night.